Imagine a place where the air crackles with suspicion, where your neighbor's glance might seal your fate, where whispers carry more power than the howling wind through the bone-chilled trees of New England. This is not the setting of a horror film, but intricately the scene of Salem, Massachusetts in the year 1692. Here, in just over a year's span, over 150 men, women, and children were accused of witchcraft, an accusation as chilling as the January blizzard sweeping through the colony. From this fervent hysteria, 19 individuals were led to the gallows, their lives snuffed out amidst fears and mysteries that to the modern mind might seem detached from reality, yet were very much the horrors of theirs. As we peel back the curtain of time, not just to gaze but to understand, the Salem Witch Trials offer a disturbing mirror of what happens when fear supplants reason and society succumbs to its darkest impulses. The early seeds of what would grow into a rampant bloom of hysteria in Salem were sown in a parsonage, an innocuous beginning marked by juvenile games and stories of the supernatural. In the harsh winters of colonial Massachusetts, the Puritans lived under a heavy shroud of religious expectations and existential dread, the unknown wilderness pressing close against their wooden doors. The witch trials were not an isolated phenomenon, rather, they were symptomatic of wider religious and social tensions. The Puritans perceived themselves as a beleaguered minority, surrounded by devilry, a belief system that laid fertile ground for paranoia. The outbreak is often attributed to the strange behaviors of several young girls in the village, including fits, inexplicable pains, and eerie utterances. The fervor that ensued shows us how fragile human societies can be, teetering precariously at the edge of reason and madness. Among the first accused was Bridget Bishop, a woman known for her flamboyant attire and unconventional lifestyle, traits that made her stand out as much as they led to her downfall. Bishop was depicted by contemporaries as tangentially adhering to societal expectations, a precarious position in a rigid Puritan society. Bishop's trial was a spectacle of allegations ranging from bewitching pigs to eerie sightings, showing the eclectic and often contradictory nature of evidence that typified the trials. These personal accounts crafted a narrative that left little room for defense, pulling the community into a vortex of suspicion. Her unfortunate fate illuminated the trial's fixation with aberrance, revealing that often those most vulnerable were not just those who deviated from societal norms, but those who were visibly different. Each story of the accused stitched together forms a tapestry of a society gripped by fear, quick to cast blame to dispel their own inner turmoil. In Salem, religion was not merely a spiritual guide but a civic code, woven into the very fabric of daily existence. The Puritan ministers, wielding significant influence, interpreted adversities like disease, crop failures, and even the unexplainable behavior of children as divine signals of the community's moral failings. Reverend Samuel Parris, in particular, became a pivotal figure in escalating the witchcraft accusations. His fiery sermons painted a world besieged by the devil, where witchcraft was both a plausible and potent threat. These sermons did not just reflect existing fears, but amplified them, creating a feedback loop that justified harsh judicial proceedings against supposed witches. Layered upon this religious fervor was the legal framework, which was equally entwined with theological doctrine. The court relied on spectral evidence, testimony based on dreams and visions, as legally binding, a practice that today seems deeply flawed but at the time was seen as a legitimate means to divine truth. This blend of religious and legal authority created a formidable force against which few could stand. The witch trials did not occur in isolation, but in a tightly knit community rife with land disputes, family feuds, and long-standing grudges. In this pressured cooker environment, accusations of witchcraft became a potent weapon in personal vendettas, transforming private conflicts into public spectacles. The geography of Salem itself, with its divided lands and contentious boundaries, mirrored the fractures within the community. Accusations often followed these fault lines, with many of the accused living on the economically and socially marginalized fringes of the village. The trials provided an outlet for the expression of repressed social resentments, allowing individuals to manipulate the communal fear for personal gain. This dynamic illustrates how societal structures and personal motivations can fuel a collective descent into hysteria. Superstition in 17th century Salem was not mere folklore. It was a reality that shaped perceptions and justified the purging of evil through trials. The belief in witchcraft was rooted in biblical texts and reinforced by common folklore, which depicted witches as malignant figures capable of inflicting harm and consorting with the devil. Within this context, natural misfortunes such as illness or crop failures were often attributed to malevolent witchcraft. This superstitious framework made the inexplicable sinister and provided a scapegoat for the community's misfortunes. Understanding these superstitions is crucial, as they reveal how deeply entrenched beliefs can distort reality and fuel mass hysteria. The power of superstition in Salem turned neighbor against neighbor, transforming fear into a deadly catalyst for action. The witch trials disproportionately targeted women, casting a stark light on gender dynamics within Puritan society. Women, particularly those who defied the submissive female ideal or were economically independent, were often viewed with suspicion. The trials became a venue where the anxieties over women's roles and power were played out dramatically. Accused women like Sarah Good and Rebecca Nurse were not merely victims of a superstition-riddled era, but also of a patriarchal order that sought to control women's autonomy. Sarah Good's contentious behavior and poverty made her an easy target, symbolizing the societal unease with women who did not conform to expected norms. The Salem trials thus serve as a grim reminder of how gender can influence societal judgments and contribute to the scapegoating mechanisms in times of crisis. Understanding this lends a crucial dimension to our comprehension of the historical and cultural implications of the witch hunts. Children in the trials, the youngest voices. The involvement of children in the Salem witch trials, both as accusers and the accused, highlights a troubling chapter in the saga. The infamous case of 9-year-old Betty Paris, whose strange affliction spurred the initial accusations, shows how children's words could wield deadly power. Children, caught in the adult world of fear and superstition, sometimes found themselves manipulated or encouraged to give testimony that would lead to convictions. This manipulation of youthful innocence reflects a disturbing facet of the trials, where the purity of childhood was overshadowed by the darkness of adult fears. This part of the narrative is essential, as it not only shows the breakdown of familial and community bonds but also serves as a cautionary tale about the vulnerability of children to societal pressures. Examination of testimonies, words that wounded. The testimonies at Salem were a mix of spectral evidence, outright fabrications, and fevered imaginations. The court records reveal how testimony was often tailored to fit the expectations of the community and its leaders, with witnesses claiming to see apparitions or suffering fits in the courtroom. This reliance on shaky testimony underscores a broader theme of how legal systems can sometimes become tools for injustice, particularly when influenced by public hysteria. The examination of these testimonies offers a window into the mechanics of the trials and the ease with which truth can become twisted by fear. Analyzing these testimonies not only helps in understanding the judicial process of the trials, but also in reflecting on the dangers of using unsubstantiated evidence in any legal system. Legal proceedings, the machinery of justice. The legal framework of the Salem witch trials, with its acceptance of spectral evidence and the lack of defense counsel, was fraught with potential for abuse. The judges, often prominent figures like John Hathorne and Jonathan Corwin, played pivotal roles in escalating the trials instead of tempering the growing hysteria. Their decisions, driven perhaps by belief in the supernatural and pressure to protect the community from perceived evil, demonstrate how the machinery of justice can malfunction under the weight of societal fears and personal biases. This segment of the narrative delves into the intricacies of the legal proceedings during the Salem witch trials, offering insights into the flaws and biases that can undermine justice, and reflecting on how these issues resonate with modern-day legal challenges. Press and public opinion shaping views then and now. The 17th century did not have newspapers in the modern sense, but news sheets and pamphlets were the era's carriers of news and gossip, shaping public opinions just as powerfully. In Salem, as the witch trials unfolded, word of mouth played a crucial role, supplemented by sermons and official announcements which acted almost as press releases from the court. These forms of communication help to create an atmosphere of fear and urgency, spreading the stories of witchcraft far beyond the confines of the village. The role of the press in Salem is a precursor to the modern media's impact on public opinion and legal outcomes, showing the enduring power of narrative in shaping societal views. This examination not only sheds light on the historical role of communication in public crises, but also prompts a reflection on how today's media can amplify or mitigate collective fears and societal reactions. Economics of witch trials, the financial dimension. The witch trials were not merely a cultural and psychological phenomenon but also had a distinct economic aspect. Accusations could be financially motivated or have financial consequences. Seized properties and the impoverishment of families involved highlight the trial's economic impact on the community. This economic perspective provides a broader understanding of the various dimensions that can influence such events, suggesting that economic pressures and personal gains also played roles in the hysteria. Analyzing these aspects offers insights into how economic incentives can exacerbate societal divisions and conflicts. Aftermath and legacy: the echoes of Salem. The Salem Witch Trials left a lasting legacy on the American legal system and cultural consciousness, prompting changes in legal practices, including the eventual disallowance of spectral evidence. The trials have become a symbol of the dangers of extremism, intolerance, and miscarriage of justice. Reflecting on the aftermath, this section explores how the trials have been interpreted over the centuries and their significance in American history as a cautionary tale. This legacy is crucial for understanding how past injustices can inform present legal standards and societal values. Cultural impact: Salem in arts and literature. The witch trials have inspired countless works of art, literature, and performance, each interpreting the events through different lenses. From Arthur Miller's The Crucible to recent cinematic adaptations, Salem has become a cultural metaphor for mass hysteria and the breakdown of social order. This exploration into the cultural products inspired by the trials examines how art continues to engage with the themes of justice, fear, and the human condition, reflecting on how historical events can be reinterpreted to address contemporary issues. Modern parallels: echoes in contemporary society. The psychological and sociological dynamics of the Salem witch trials find echoes in modern instances of social hysteria, where fear and uncertainty can lead to collective irrationality. From the Red Scare to modern witch hunts on social media, the patterns of behavior are strikingly similar. Drawing parallels between Salem and modern incidents provides a deeper understanding of how social hysteria can manifest in different eras, offering lessons on the importance of safeguarding against such dynamics in contemporary society. Psychology of mass hysteria: lessons for today. The Salem witch trials serve as a case study in the psychology of mass hysteria, illustrating how fear can cloud judgment and lead to the erosion of societal norms. This section delves into the psychological mechanisms at play during the trials, drawing on modern psychological theories to explain the behaviors observed. Understanding these psychological aspects is essential for preventing or mitigating similar outbreaks in the future, providing valuable lessons on the human psyche's vulnerabilities. Conclusion: reflecting on the shadows of Salem. As the shadows of the gallows cast long over the history of Salem, they also extend into our contemporary societal challenges, reminding us of the perennial struggle between fear and reason. Reflecting on Salem is not just about looking back, it is about seeing around us, recognizing the signs of hysteria's return, and striving for a society grounded in reason and justice. The Salem witch trials remind us that the darkest chapters of history have enduring lessons, urging us to be vigilant and thoughtful as we navigate the complexities of human behavior and societal pressures.